All right, this graphic here shows spinal nerve function. It has all the cervical spine, that's C1 through C7, the thoracic spine, T1 through T12, and then the lumbar spine, L1 through L5, and then at the bottom is the sacrum. Obviously, this is on the left side of the screen. If we're going back up and talking about me, I have spinal fusion. It was called an anterior discectomy, C3-4, C4-5. So that's all fused together for me. Those joints aren't moving. They move as one. And then if you go all the way down to the bottom, L5, and then S1 is the sacrum. So I have a big herniated disc down there. So if you look at the area or organ, and I don't want to read all of these off, you can pause this screen and check it out. But if we're going to thoracic 1, for example, the area or organ it affects: heart, lungs, thymus, bronchial tubes, trachea, chest, breast, pleuria, gallbladder, arms across shoulders, upper back, and shoulder blades. Possible symptoms that you're having are heart conditions, asthma, bronchitis, indigestion, difficulty swallowing, nausea, headaches, fatigue, pleurisy, chronic coughing, shortness of breath, bloating after eating. So if you have a problem in one of these joints and one of your organs is being affected by this herniated disc or whatever, you might have some of these symptoms, and these are the symptoms that you want to look at if you're going to file a secondary service connection claim. It's good for you to look at this and learn as much as you can, but you're going to need a doctor to actually make the call and put the nexus down for you, because you need the nexus. You're already service connected for your back. Now you're filing a secondary service connection claim, and a doctor needs to explain why your asthma in T1 is secondary to your 10% low ball back rating, for example. This is a direct service connection for back pain example. I'm not going to read it all. Again, you can screenshot this and check it out, but you need a medical diagnosis or pain. You don't need a medical diagnosis of pain, by the way. And the little marker next to that says meet certain criteria. That criteria is in the CFR, the Code of Federal Regulations, the Schedule of Rating Disabilities. That is going to be your new friend. And I would also have a companion friend, which is the M21-1 Adjudication Manual, which is what the VA raters go by. Also, I would get your claims file so you can see what's in your actual file. You need to know what you're up against and the law to make all this stuff work. So you need a medical diagnosis or pain, you need an in-service event, and then you need a link. Here's how the VA rates it. It's under 38 CFR 4.71A, the Schedule of Ratings, musculoskeletal system, and the criteria is based largely on a veteran's range of motion and functional loss. Pain is also a factor. Generally speaking, you'll be required to attend a compensation and pension exam, a C&P exam, and the examiner will measure how far you can bend forward, backward, and side to side. He'll be using something called a goniometer, which is a little plastic protractor thing. Just a note, if he doesn't bust out the goniometer and he's eyeballing you, that is an inadequate C&P exam potentially, so keep that in mind. He needs to be busting out something to measure you with. His eyes are not calibrated to measure the difference between 19 degrees and 20 degrees. So they're going to measure all these things: your flexion, extension here, your rotation, your lateral flexion. And as you see here, 10%. This is the rating criteria. 20%, 30%, 40%. Also, another note, 10% is a very common low ball back rating. 20% is actually a pretty decent low ball back rating. When I say low ball, anything below 30% is low ball. I'm not saying don't go after them. It's just probably what you're starting off with, and you might want to increase it. But if you're going to go for an increase on the back itself, you're going to need to fall into this rating criteria for 40%. And then here's another graphic of the cervical spine. So when they're talking about 0 degrees being straight up, when you're bending forward, they're going to try to get you to go all the way to 45 degrees. If you can only go to 5, like right here, and this is where you're feeling pain, stop right there. The doctor may say something like, oh, you could go a little farther. If you go a little farther, just to be friends with the doctor and impress him, you're doing yourself no favors. You're never going to see this doctor again in your life. He is not your treating physician. He's only there at a compensation and pension exam to evaluate you based on the claim that you filed. Let me jump in here real quick and tell you about my boot camp. If you want to learn more about the VA claims process, check out my boot camp. You can talk to me live. There's a link on the website and in the description, combatcraig.com. And also, if you need medical evidence like a nexus or documenting your symptoms properly, go to our website, combatcraig.com, and it says medteam/nexus letters. Click on that link, fill out the form. Boom, you're done.